So the elevator pitch for this book is, what if Anakin Skywalker was actually making the right decision by becoming Darth Vader? I think the deeper question there, or the more cryptic question, is it's okay to be a villain sometimes, or when is the right moment to be a villain or be considered a villain in the public eye? And I think that's a really interesting concept. First one is Empire of Silence. Look at that cover. Look at how cool that is. It was not his war. The galaxy remembers him as a hero, the man who burned every last alien Cielson from the sky. They remember him as a monster, the devil who destroyed a sun, casually annihilating 4 billion human lives, even the Emperor himself, against Imperial orders. But Hadrian was not a hero. He was not a monster. He was not even a soldier. Pretty dang cool, not gonna lie. So I am all caught up on this series, and I have to say, it is well worth your time. If you are someone who is really into Star Wars or really into Dune, this takes inspiration from both of those things, but not too much, I don't think. I don't think you're gonna read this and be like, oh, this is exactly like Star Wars, or I made the comparison to, the main character is named Hadrian, and I made the comparison to Darth Vader. There's a lot of parallels between him and Anakin, but it's definitely not the same character. You're not gonna read this and be like, oh, he ripped that directly from Star Wars. No, it's definitely its own thing. There are a lot of inspirations from Star Wars and from Dune, mainly the houses from Dune, and maybe some of the politics and some of the fighting battles and stuff a little bit from Star Wars. Trying to figure out a way to say the plot that's not super spoilery. Just make that noise every time. This is actually my second copy of the book. I bought the mass market paperback copy, so look, I've mixed match copies. This is the third book. I have mixed match copies. I had the mass market paperback copy for this, but I left it on my car and then drove away. While I was halfway through it. Somebody somewhere's got the mass market paperback. Hopefully it didn't just end up in a ditch somewhere. Yeah, if you're someone who is really interested in Dune and maybe wants a little more world exploration and maybe less weird stuff. I mean, these books can get weird, especially in book 6. These books can get kind of weird, but not as weird as Dune. I feel like with the Dune series, after book 3, it just gets really, really weird, and I kind of lose interest a little bit. These books, I feel like, don't get too weird, and I'm interested the whole time. But yeah, Hadrian is someone who's born in wealth, born in privilege, whatever you want to call it. He loses some of that and has to fight his way to the top again. In the first book, he finds himself in a gladiator arena at some point, which is kind of cool. And so it's kind of like his journey of starting from the bottom and then kind of rising to fame. And it's hard to summarize that, so I won't. There are 6 books in the series, I think. They're pretty long, so they're a commitment. I do say they're worth it, though. The world he's created is really interesting. My only criticism so far of the series is this isn't really a criticism. It's just something so it's all first person, and that's kind of the only thing that draws it back a little. We experience the world through his point of view, through Hadrian's point of view. And it would be really cool if maybe we got because it's such a big world, it would be kind of cool to get different perspectives. And you kind of do later, because he has a novella. He has a couple novellas that have different perspectives. There's one that's in his brother's perspective, and so he messes with different perspectives in the novellas, but these are mostly Hadrian's perspective, the main series. My other criticism is that the first book is really good. It is really interesting. However, the middle is kind of slow, unfortunately. There's a point where it gets really interesting, and then it just kind of slows a little bit. And Hadrian's kind of stuck on this planet, and I just felt like it went on for a really long time. And I was like, okay, when's he gonna get off this planet? When's he gonna move on, And finally he does, but that was really my only criticism of it, is that I felt like the middle of this book was just kind of long. And then there we go. And then Howling Dark, to me, this is when the series really kicked off. These 2 books are so far my favorite. Particularly this one. This is Demon in White. This is the 3rd one. And this one is just a non-stop thrill ride. I have nothing bad to say about this one. I absolutely love this one. I think this one's signed, actually. Yeah, I got it signed. He's a cool guy. I met him recently. He came to my hometown bookshop, so I got to see him, and get a signed copy. Actually, I got to, this is his newest book, just came out pretty recently. I was able to get that one signed as well. Super nice guy. Another thing I want to say is if you're someone whose prose are really important, his prose are really, really nice. So if prose is something important to you, and if you're really looking for like a good space opera series, highly recommend this. Basically, in the beginning, he tells you right off the bat. In the beginning, Hadrian, the main character, the story is him kind of reflecting on his life, and so he's kind of telling the story of his life from far in the future. And in the future, he's known as the Sun Eater because he destroyed a sun and then destroyed like billions of people. So he annihilated an entire species, and he killed a bunch of humans by destroying this sun, but it's gonna happen like in the future. And so the story is him going all the way back to a certain point of his life and being like, this is where it all started, you know? And then you get to read about his life and how he got to that point. But yeah, there's 6 books. They're all good. I don't think there was one I didn't like. Don't do what I did and don't mix match the paperbacks or whatever, because they look weird on the shelf. Like I got two of the mass market paperbacks, and then I got this bigger paperback, and then I have the hard covers. So they just look really weird on a shelf together, you know? They're cool though, look at the design. I really like the design. So yeah, if I were you, I would just either get the normal paperback or just get a bunch of hardcovers. Although the hardcovers of some of the books are kind of hard to find. If you're looking for a space opera, or if you're like, hey, I really like Dune, but it was kind of boring, or it was just like, it got kind of weird after book 3, if you're like me. Or if you like Dune and you like Star Wars and all that, but you're looking for something a little more unique and more interesting, but in the same vein as like a Star Wars or a Dune, highly recommend Sun Eater series. Go check it out.